Hey guys, Brad from SimpleGuitar.com here, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how you can create your own strum patterns. It's actually pretty easy, so I'm going to break it down for you. And so let's just dive right in. Now, before we get started, what I do want you to be familiar with is being able to strum down, up, down, up, down, up, and do that comfortably. Being able to do a full measure of eighth notes where you're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's gonna be the basis for all of this. Now, this is how awesome this is gonna be. What we're gonna do is we are going to think of this full measure of eighth notes much like a sculptor would think of a block of marble, right? That is where the sculptor begins, is with a giant block of marble, and then they begin removing pieces to reveal a sculpture. And so that is a process known as destructive creation. You're destroying something and making it smaller to create something new. And so what we're going to do is this full measure of eighth notes going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and is gonna be our block of marble. We can play that and it gets used all the time for stuff. And it's a great place for us to begin using some destructive creation. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take this full measure of eighth notes, and then it's up to you to decide which strums you're going to remove from the measure. So let's make this really simple. Let's start by just removing one strum. Let's remove beat number 4. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to play that, but instead of playing on beat 4, I'm going to do one of two things, because now you have options. You can either insert silence by putting a rest there, so you're actually going to stop the strings from ringing out, or you can allow the note that you just played, the strum that you just hit, to ring out through that time. Now guys, if you are enjoying this video, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell notification, and then you'll be notified every time I upload a new video every single week. Now let's dive back into making your own strum pattern. So if I remove beat number 4, and that's the only one that I'm taking out right now, it's gonna sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. Now that's playing it pretty slow so that you get it. And what I did there is I let my note on the end of 3 ring out through 4. So let's try if I insert silence going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, right? That's a totally different feel. And so just by choosing to remove a strum and either allowing the note before it to ring out or to insert silence by putting a rest there, you've got two different options just from doing that. Then on top of it, you can change your speed. So I played that pretty slow, but we could speed it up and we could go. That sounds pretty cool. That reminds me of an Arcade Fire song. That would work great. You could use that for a real song right away. If you do, though, give me some royalties on that because I helped out. Okay, no, I'm just kidding, guys. All right, so let's try something else. You can do that with any one of the strums. It's not just beat 4. You could go, I'm going to remove beat 1, and we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? It's totally up to you. The biggest thing that you have to keep in mind, though, is the time that exists for that strum still has to be there, whether it's the note ringing out or inserting the silence. So what if we remove 2 different strums? Well, let's be random. Let's remove the and of 1, and let's remove the beat number 3. So if we're removing the and of beat 1 and then beat 3 and we leave everything else in there. So we're going to have 6 total strums that we play, and we're going to keep our downstrokes on the beat and our upstrokes on the off beat. Okay, that is going to sound like this. We're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now that sounds really familiar. I didn't mean to, but that is the most common strum pattern in the world. Right? That's how you get it. You remove those 2 strums from the measure. Now, we could change it up, though, and we could insert silence. Now, this is a bit harder, but it would go something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Right? Totally different thing, totally different feel, just by using silence instead of tying our notes over. Now, what if we remove 2 other ones? Let's remove beat number 2 and beat number 3. So we're going to remove both 2 and 3, and let's insert silence this time. So we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and... Totally different, right? We could tie those notes over too instead of doing rest and get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. You get to play with that. And then, like I said, you can speed it up. You can slow it down. You could play around with syncopating the rhythm, swinging it, making it different. And so you can come up with all sorts of different combinations of removing 2 different strums. Well, what if we remove 3 or 4 or 5? There's all sorts of different things that we can remove. Let's do this. Let's leave in 1 and let's remove beat 2, beat 3, and beat 4. So we're going to have the upstrokes that happen on the and of 2, the and of 3, and the and of 4 still. But to make this sound good, we're going to insert silence. So we'll have rests instead, and that will sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Does it make sense? I hope that this is helping you out, and I hope that you're having some light bulbs go off, because this is how strum patterns, new rhythms, are actually created. It's the opportunity to use different notes at different times, and you can choose that just by starting with this full measure and then removing it. Now, here's the last point with this. As you create different strum patterns, the only thing that you're limited by is math. I mean, that's it, because there's so many combinations that you're going to come up with starting using a full measure of eighth notes. And so by doing that, you're limited in the different number of combinations on removing 1 strum or 2 strums or 3 strums or 5 or 6 or 7. If you want to be crazy, you can do that. But that's the cool thing about this, is music really is math, and it's math that happens in real time. I think that's what sets it apart from the math that we do in math class on a piece of paper and it's theoretical. Here we're using math and we're doing it in time, and that is what makes music so awesome. So what I want you to do is I want you to just take a notebook and write out some different measures and start erasing strums. Start coming up with different combinations, and then try those combinations by tying your notes together and letting them ring out through the point where you remove the strum, or insert rests into that space so that you have silence to give it a different feel. Then mess around with playing it slower or playing it faster, and boom, you've got all sorts of different strum patterns that you can play. And so I don't want to hear you say again, I need to learn more strum patterns. Everybody says that. This is how you do it. Apart from that, it's going to be how you play the strum pattern that matters, which I did a whole other video about that, about playing only a few strings and using accents and different things like that. That is my favorite way to make strum patterns jump out. So if you want to go check out that video, here's the link to that one as well. But that's it, guys. That is it. This is my favorite thing to do with students, to get their creative juices flowing about strumming and playing different strum patterns. I think that we get stuck because we don't purposely break out of playing the same thing all the time. I think that you should take some new strum patterns that you create, put them together with different chord progressions that you put together, and start writing your own music using these. Being creative with this is one of the best ways to break out of a box. So go have some fun with these strum patterns. And if you've watched the video this far, I want to give you a gift as my way of saying thank you for being here with me today. So if you go to simpleguitar.com/top10, there I have a guide for you called the top 10 things to learn on guitar first. And it's 10 things that I teach beginners all the time to get them playing more real music a lot faster. So go to simpleguitar.com/top10, pick up that guide on the top 10 things to learn on guitar first as my gift to you, my way of saying thank you for letting me help you today with creating your own strum patterns. And then guys, have an awesome day, and I will catch you in the next video.